Hey, good morning, and welcome to today's 5-minute message. Last week I had to deal with a thunderstorm and a lot of rain and wind, and these wind chimes are going, and today is a little chillier. It did rain, but I think it's over. The wind chimes are still going a little bit because it's still kind of windy, but that's okay. God has brought us through another night. God's going to give us a great day today. What are you leaning on God to do for you today? Well, I have a big day planned, a lot of things going on, but I believe God's going to bring me through all of it. Do you believe that God is going to bring you through whatever you do today? If you can understand that, you can understand what we're going to be thinking about with the Apostle Paul today. We've been thinking about a snapshot of the life of the Apostle Paul over the last few weeks. Today we're going to finish that thought as we think about Paul's character. 2 weeks ago we looked at Paul's conduct. Last week we thought about Paul's commission. And today we're going to be thinking about Paul's character in Galatians chapter 1, verses 18 through 24. Let's read these verses. Then after 3 years I went up to Jerusalem to see Peter, and remained with him 15 days. But I saw none of the other apostles except James, the Lord's brother. Now concerning the things which I write to you, indeed before God I do not lie. Afterwards I went into the regions of Syria and Cilicia, and I was unknown by face to the churches of Judea which were in Christ. But they were hearing only, He who formerly persecuted us now preaches the faith which he once tried to destroy. And they glorified God in me. We need to see Paul's character in these verses, and how does he deal with the Galatians here in these verses? Well, he's been telling us about his conversion and his message, and he tells us in verse 18, after 3 years I went up to Jerusalem to see Peter. Now, 3 years after this conversion, Peter is finally now going to get to see Paul. And why does Paul believe that this is important? Because he wants the Galatians to understand that the message that he has and the message that he's trying to communicate to the Galatians wasn't something that he came up with other men. This message that the Apostle Paul is giving to the Galatians has come from God himself. It's been 3 years under the teaching of God. Not with Peter, not with James, not with the other apostles. It was 3 years before he saw Peter. And in fact, when he did see Peter, he only saw him for 15 days. That's not a long time. It's not like they had enough time to put together a school or something like that, or put together some curriculum. All right, this is what we're going to teach these stupid Galatians. That's not what happened. 3 years passed before he ever saw Peter, and then even then he only saw him for 15 days. The message that Paul is giving to us, to the Galatians, came from God. And he says, I didn't even see any of the other apostles. It's not like he was influenced by all these other people to have some sort of weird message to give them. No, Paul was not influenced by all these other people. He says, I didn't even see anybody else except for just maybe James. And he says, concerning these things, I am not lying. Before God, I am not lying. He is telling us the truth. He says, afterwards, I went into the regions of Syria and Cilicia. I was unknown by face. When he did go to other places, they didn't even know him. So it's not like he was conferring with these people. He wants these Galatians to understand that the message that he's giving to them is from God. So when he says, this is the gospel that you need to believe in, that is genuinely the gospel that you need to believe in. And anybody else telling you anything else is wrong, and they need to be accursed. And he says, they were hearing only, He who formerly persecuted us now preaches the faith which you once tried to destroy. And that's true. He wanted to eliminate this faith. And he says, when they say things like this, they glorify God in me, because only God could bring Paul to this point in his life. Only God could handle the Apostle Paul in this way, to give him the faith, the words to say, to bring this kind of message to the Galatians. And I hope that God does the same stuff with you. Have a great day.